In case you hadn't heard, the Suns reportedly reached an agreement with Mark Williams yesterday, and yesterday we reacted to it. Today we analyze what it all means moving forward after this. What is up? What's happening? Welcome into the PHNX Suns show. And as a reminder, this is Draft Week, and PHNX Suns Draft Week coverage is presented to you by our friends at 1AZ Credit Union. It is Friday. You got to get down on Friday.
Hell yeah, Gil.
As I once heard once back in the day. We got the Freckle Mama behind the
I'll see y'all
Mac
later.
making the magic happen. We got Stephen already annoyed by me less than 2 minutes into this.
Doing so well. You took 2 steps out the starting block and then you tripped over yourself.
But then I got back up, and we're going to
you
have us
kept
a great.
running.
And I'm
Oh, you
still
did not
running.
get back
Let
up.
that
No,
be
you're
a
still on
lesson
the
for all
ground.
of you watching, all you in the chat hanging out with us today. We got Russell. We got Stephen, who is just letting Erik know what you did. Apologize.
I don't know.
Erik.
I don't know what I did, but I'm
He said
sorry.
There's film of what you
There's
did.
film of
and
what
then
you
there's,
did.
And then there's a fake Erik Ruby in the chat, so that's
Wow,
fun.
you know.
Oh, wow.
And then,
It's cracking today.
We've got Zony
cracking
Bone in the
today.
chat
Oh,
saying,
we're about to have a classic
saying
today.
LeVar
Oh,
Ball in the
yeah.
house. Oh, it's today.
We're about to have a
It's
classic
the day.
today. Wow,
Cracking.
already
Sure.
off to a great start. And of course, we got the real Erik, I guess, next to
Yeah.
me. I'm Gil,
Maybe.
And we got a lot to get into. Erik, you and Espo yesterday got a chance to react to the Mark Williams news. Where today we're going to analyze the Mark Williams
So you guys got
news.
this. I could just.
No. We need
Y'all
you.
got this.
You're too important.
Oh,
You're too important.
what about fake Erik? Does he stay around?
We need both.
Okay.
We need both. It's like a
Yeah,
it's like
let's wait till the
We'll
end of the
see.
show.
We'll see what they
Not
bring to
too
the
quick.
table. We'll talk Mark Williams. Talk about how that fits into what they're doing with all their free agents because everything's locked up now. Stephen and I also and Ayrton were at the Koa Peat introductory presser, so we'll talk about some things we learned about Koa Peat today, and we'll see a little bit more. We learned about when we'll see him play this summer as well, so we'll have a little few reactions to that part of it all.
Also
But
got that jersey number too.
also learned he's going to be wearing. You'll find out if you haven't seen it already. What number he's going to be
Melo
wearing?
pump fake, DeMar DeRozan pump fake, Kevin Durant pump fake.
Don't bite. Shea
Royce
pump fake.
O'Neal pump
Royce
fake?
O'Neal.
O'Neal
pump fake. Facts.
Don't bite. But we'll start with the Mark Williams news, which we found out yesterday around 4:45, 4:50 p.m. He reportedly is going to return to the Phoenix Suns on a 3-year, $38 million deal. No extra language, nothing else. I'm sure we'll learn maybe about incentives and games played, but no options, anything like that. Straight up, a little over $12 million per year average annual value. Erik, everybody heard your thoughts yesterday.
So I'll just shut
So I'm
up.
gonna pass it to
Yeah.
Stephen because we haven't really heard what you had to say
Again,
about this.
do I need to be here?
Yeah, man, we can't do this without you, man. I just,
Moral support.
Of course, man. But Stephen, what do you think about the Mark Williams news? Because we were doing a lot and bouncing a lot when we found out what was going on.
what?
So I know you tweeted about it, but what have you thought about it 24 hours later?
Yeah, it felt like they got what they wanted to out of the transaction as far as having him squared away, meeting him at a certain point that they wanted to just off of the goodwill and the relationship established. But it also feels like they're working to give themselves maneuverability down the line. And we talk about them needing to navigate with a fine-tooth comb because of the things that they have, the skeletons in the closet on the cap sheet from years past, from regimes past. You have to be intentional about these numbers that you're doling out for the contracts that you are giving people. And I think there's a little bit of foresight on the other side of that. For one, if Mark continues on the trajectory that he showed to when he was healthy and is healthy on top of that production, he outperforms that contract. If he doesn't, you give yourself an out in terms of, okay, if we need to go and look external and try to find a way to make a transaction happen, we have a team-friendly number that we can get some talent back in the room in addition to potentially other things. And I think that's kind of the foresight that it feels like they're working with. I think they put themselves in a good spot with that as well. And again, the swiftness, the urgency is what I used on Twitter yesterday in reaction. Getting this news already on him and Goody and Collin within 11 days of each other, 10 days of each other. Mm-hmm. That's a team that's working with a certain type of purpose. Talk about them wanting to get into the early third of the shot clock. They got into the early
That was
third of
7
the
seconds or
offseason.
less.
That was 7 seconds or less, exactly. I couldn't have said that any better.
It's funny because we talked about that, Erik. We thought that it was going to drag out for a while.
Oh, yeah.
We thought that like restricted free agency historically, guys, they're not on the same page with their team as a value. You got the whole qualifying offer looming as far as that goes. And it happened way before that. Now we're sitting here 4 days before free agency begins, basically knowing what this team's roster is going to look like 4 months from now.
Like, what else?
And they'll be like, what else is going on now? But Erik, now that it's been about 24 hours since your initial reactions and responses, now that time has passed, what have you thought a little bit more about it from what you initially said and where you stand now?
So I gave it a B yesterday, and I want to address Bida Swami in the chat saying, I feel like y'all are too optimistic about the Mark Williams signing. Can you try to provide a balanced analysis of the signing? Who else would have realistically given him that deal? I do think the fact that they signed Mark Williams before real free agency hit means that Mark probably knew that his market wasn't exactly the hottest, which is exactly what we all expected. I don't think anybody was going to line up to give Mark Williams an insane deal. This is slightly above the qualifying offer. Qualifying offer is 9.6. He's going to start this upcoming season at 11.7. And I know the ifs of Mark Williams playing, but he is a good player. He's not a minimum level player when he plays, and the Suns are paying him like a very low-end starter or a high-end backup. To me, there is, of course, risk in all of this. I don't think anybody is looking at this move and saying, oh, well, this is a home run hit. Like, this is the best front office move that anybody's ever seen. Because that's just not what we're talking about here. But Mark Williams, even if he plays 50 games, is worth this contract. It's not a contract that handcuffs you, and it's not a contract that changes anything about the future of Kaman Malawach or the future of Oso Ighodaro or even the future of the position if you decide that Mark Williams isn't it. He earned a raise, not a significant one, and I think that's exactly what he got. So give him a B, give the front office a B. This is the only thing that kind of throws me off is the 3 years fully guaranteed. I would have liked a team option or I would have liked some sort of injury language, but maybe those types of contracts only come, Gil, when they're getting 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, $20 million. And this is yet another deal that you look at the rest of NBA Twitter and they're saying the Suns are fleecing their free agents. Like everybody outside of Phoenix thought that this was a good deal for Phoenix.
It's so funny because we are so hyper-focused on these guys and we see the good and the bad, but through all of that, we're able to, I think all of us fairly understand their value to this team and what they mean to the team. And we talk so much about, can you imagine this team without Mark Williams next year? And because we saw the team so much without him, he only missed 22 games, which is still about a quarter of the season. It is more than a quarter of the season, but we saw him have so many key moments. And then we saw them without him in the playoffs and recognize how much he was needed. So when you think about on the outside looking in, people probably see 11.7 points, 8 rebounds per game, with a lot of minutes restrictions and a lot of things that he had to work through and navigate throughout the course of the season. That might not ever go away. Let's make that very clear. And that might be what's necessary to get the most out of him in the coming years or through the life of this contract. But that's the other part, Stephen. You mentioned this contract could get packaged with other things down the line. There is Kaman Malawach, who is the center in waiting, the franchise player in waiting, potentially, depending on his development and how quickly that happens. But to your point, Erik, 3-year deal, maybe that doesn't happen till halfway through this deal. You've bought yourself some time. There is no pressure to bring Man along quicker than he needs to be brought along, and that's the most important part, that he can still develop at his own pace. And Mark is 24, will be 25 in December. This is about as good of a 2 timelines thing you could do given who you have on this roster and where things stand based on how last season ended.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier this week or sometime last week, but the pointedness, the sharpness with which it feels like they're operating with in terms of what the plan is, being 10 toes down in the decision-making faction about what that plan is, and continuing on with that regardless of all of the other stuff that's going on around the league and around them in the Western Conference in particular. You have to appreciate that, because I feel like we were talking about the LaMelo trade yesterday, and I was just saying, keep your eyes on your own paper. Just like you're in class, you're taking a test, you don't want to get caught looking to see what Gil got on his paper. He went to Wake Forest. It might not be the right answer.
Might not
but
be
you
the
don't
right
want to play
answer.
that game. You don't want to play that
Depends on the
game.
subject. Depends on the subject. They did beat us in NIT, so they got That's
We're talking
fair.
grades,
That's
man.
fair. Listen,
we're talking school.
Yes, they got us.
But no, to that point,
Student before athlete.
but no, to that point, you just want to make sure you're staying on the straight and narrow, the beaten path. You want to stay aligned, not just with each other, but you also want to stay aligned with what your plan is. And I feel like they're trusting what it is that they have established and what the route to success looks like for them. These 3 signings and the urgency, the timing with which they've gotten them done, feels like it's a direct kind of correlation to just the collective belief and the ability to execute that.
It's also it's smart business, and there's a lot of different reasons why this is good business that we'll dive into over this entire show, but a big part of that is you are not letting these guys go out and explore the open market. Now, if we're all being honest here, you have an idea of what your market is before free agency, or else these reported signings wouldn't come down. But you're going out there, and instead of having Mark Williams' saga kind of drag on, which I thought it was going to be because that's how we've seen restricted free agents, maybe this front office identified how that hurt these other teams. The fact that Quentin Grimes wasn't even there until training camp, and that Jonathan Kuminga was the story into September and the beginning of October. Who wants that, right? This franchise doesn't want that. You saw what happened with the Warriors. You saw with the Sixers, it didn't really impact them on a big picture perspective, but I'm sure that they would have rather had a solution on that earlier, especially if the difference that we're talking about here is $9.6 million to $11.7 million, which again, if Mark is your starting center, that is a bottom tier contract for a starting center, which I think is fair. He can't play over 20-something minutes per game. He'll probably only play 50 to 60 games. He has the potential to play less, and when he does play, he's an impactful player, but he's certainly not one of the most impactful starting centers. I know that people can take rim protection numbers and whatnot, but I just think overall you look at maybe the lack of physicality that came with some of the weight that he dropped in order to stay healthier. There were some things that he did better in Charlotte than he did in Phoenix. So there are a lot of limitations on Mark Williams, and I feel like you're not giving the Suns front office enough credit if you don't think that they have at least acknowledged that. They didn't give him $15, $16, $17, $18 million. They didn't let him reach the open market, and they also didn't let this hang over their head for the next 3 months. Everything is clear. They know what they want to do. They know who they want on the team. Now, are they done is another question. Will they cut Jamari Bouye by Monday? Will they try to trade Grayson Allen or Royce O'Neal? Topics for us to discuss later, but all 3 of these players that you went and signed, I would say got below market value contracts, and it's not even Tuesday yet. That's great for everybody involved, including the players.
Absolutely. You talk about these trio of signings and what it could mean in the next steps, because there could be more moves to be made, and there might not be, but there's a lot that could come from this. So we'll talk about that after our next break.
The world's biggest sporting event is in our backyard. And I don't know about you guys, when I want to celebrate, I toast with Don Julio 1942. Of
Because
course,
you like that.
Oh yeah. During the 2026 World Cup, the bottle's iconic. We all know the, of course, original Don Julio 1942 bottle, the icon of celebrations, but then they got that one right behind us here. That is the trophy
Literal
for
trophy.
legends on and off the field, modeled after, of course, the FIFA World Cup trophy. Then they have the mini, like Gil, for small but iconic moments. It's a trophy that everybody can take home, a special edition of Don Julio 1942 that honors the artistry of tequila making, a symbol as timeless as the beautiful game itself. From stadiums to street parties to our watch parties, Don Julio is at the heart of culture. So be on the lookout for all of our watch parties. And of course, if you're at your favorite spot or you're stocking up at home, make it Don Julio 1942. And of course, make it that brand new Don Julio 1942 trophy bottle.
The World Cup is heating up. We're getting closer and closer to finding out who's going to hoist that trophy. Our teams are still around in it, and is your team still around it? Who do you think's going to win? You can figure it out and place that bet on Bet365 if you really believe in it. If not, it's that. It could be some of the player props, who you think's going to score a goal, who's going to get an assist, how many goals the team's going to score. It's all available.
Can I take the over-under on suspensions in a Mercury game?
I don't know if that market's available, but it's worth checking. You can check on the app and see if they have it, because they do have a lot of the WNBA props on there as well, and that's why it's never been a better time to get started over at Bet365. You know why?
Why?
Well, first of all, you can bet on all those things I mentioned,
course, yes.
but also new users get $200 in bonus bets thanks to the Bet10 Get $200 promo. Just sign up, make a $10 bet, and regardless of if it wins or loses, they're going to throw you $200 in bonus bets. You can use those bonus bets on the W, on the World Cup, on MLB, and any other sport that they have that your heart desires. So download the app and use the code PHNX365. Bet365 is where winning is everything. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 and up only. Must be physically located in Arizona. Terms and conditions apply. In-app only.
We got some comments in the chat. Thank you all for leaving comments. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We got Zony Bone, who says, I'm offering my services at Power Ford for the vet minimum. I'm 5'9", but I've got a motor. Sounds like
Zony Bone, respectfully, what power are you putting forward?
Sounds
Appreciate
like
you. Nah, playing, man. Appreciate you.
Sounds like Hoiberg's in the chat.
Wow.
And Bitaswamy is back and says, feels like we negotiated against ourselves. Only thing you bought is goodwill with Mark Williams. With him on the qualifying offer and cutting Bouye, you might duck the first apron. SPG, keep me honest.
I mean, that's a valid. That's not out the realm of possibility.
I mean, it is certainly possible that you quote unquote negotiate against yourself. I don't feel like the price is high enough to really feel like they negotiated against themselves. If you're not going to take the qualifying offer, they're going to take a raise.
We said we didn't want to go over 13 was the number.
Like 13, 14 million?
That's the sweet spot that they feel they literally nailed.
And it makes sense. Now, again, maybe nobody would have offered Mark Williams any contract, but that's still a risk. Now, we talked about the Bulls and the Hawks having filled their center gaps, presumably, obviously, with Nick Claxton and Vesar. But there was not a lot of teams out there for Mark. But if there was, they might have offered him 14 or 15 or $16 million. I don't think that was out of the realm of possibility for Mark Williams. I just didn't want to pay him that. And then you would have had to deal with either matching it or signing and trading him for second rounders or just letting him walk. This contract was reasonable enough to say, let's just get this over with. And if somebody really likes Mark Williams this summer, we're going to bet on that no matter what happens for the first half of the season, they might really like him come trade deadline time, and he's on a very tradable contract. So I get the fear because you didn't let the restricted free agent hit the restricted market when it's been terrible for restricted free agents to be on the market. If this was $20 million, I'd agree with you, but we're not even talking close to that.
The fact that most people outside of here, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're experts, but the fact that everybody's saying this is good value. I can't believe that they're able to do that. That says a lot about how his value is viewed outside of this market and also what he can be. And I think it's really important to think about the fact that the ideal world is that he takes a step back from what's asked of him if we can see the development from Man this season. But then stressing the point that just because the Bulls filled their void and the Hawks filled their voids for now, those guys might not work out. If you have Mark in a situation where we've seen him be successful, and again, there's somebody in waiting that's supposed to take the crown from him at some point, the starting center crown, I don't know why that's a crown, but to become the starting center after him, those teams might come knocking again, and then you could get some value in return. So I think that the figure is really important that you take a look at the figure and how that measures up, and I'd be excited or interested to see where that ranks among other starting centers in the NBA. This is a number I threw out because I said it was similar to Rob Williams, who has had similar injury issues that have gotten in the way, a little bit older, different kind of issues that are in a lot of ways more serious. I feel like Marcus had some nagging things that have just kind of gotten in the way of him performing at a high level, and is better off to keep him off the court. But like Rob Williams was like debilitating, like fractures and surgeries and things like that. So I think that's important to kind of note the differences between those as well, and also looking at it in the bigger picture as well. Like looking first, whether it's looking at what you're paying all three of your centers at once, and that's him, Oso, and Man. I think in total that's like maybe like 25, 27 million.
Yeah, Oso's like 2 million. Kaman's around 6-ish million.
So that's even fewer than that. So it's like 21.
Kaman, that might have been his rookie contract. So he might have around 8 million.
Yeah, so regardless of it is, it's like somewhere 25 million or less for your center rotation.
Yeah.
That's not bad. And then looking at the other way, look what you paid your three free agents. It's like about 12 million annually for Collin, about 12 million annually for Mark, and about 6 million. So you got these three guys who are really important for $30 million average annual value total. And again, if there's some value, if there's a big fish that could become available that fits what you're trying to do more, now you can pair these contracts together and maybe bring something in. So I think it's important to look at that in this lens, but also a bigger picture lens.
Yeah, really important to your point. And also they'll collectively and individually be outplaying, well, you hope on the command side, but we'll be outplaying what it is their contract is in this calendar year too.
So I'm glad you brought this up, Because there are a lot of people on Suns Twitter who are very worried about quote unquote running it back, but also paying more money for the same team because this is going to be a more expensive version of the same team last year. And I don't say that to say I don't understand where some of those people are coming from, but when you break down each of these deals individually, none of them got to the point where you should have said no. And I understand that people want change and they want problems to be addressed. I want problems to be addressed. I don't really want them to completely run it back. If you've heard me talk over the last couple of months since the season has ended, I've wanted them to make some sort of move to solve some of their problems or at least attempt to do so. However, Collin Gillespie at 4 years and $48 million, you run to sign that. Mark Williams at 3 years, $38 million, I don't run, but I'll briskly walk to sign that and feel good about it.
Walking.
And Jordan Goodwin at 3 years, $19 million, I'm sprinting backwards. Yeah, I'm pulling up in a Lamborghini and signing that with all the money that I'm saving.
Maybe
not Ayrton's Lamborghini.
Maybe one of the Camaros that we saw over.
Not the Camaro.
Well, but we're saving a lot of money on Jordan Goodwin. So as much as you might not like the idea of quote unquote running it back, I guess it's not even quote unquote running it back. It is running it back for a more expensive roster. You don't forego good deals individually for the sake of change, because change will always be there. We did a podcast yesterday talking about LaMelo Ball getting traded to the Timberwolves. Did any of us feel like that was going to be a sentence?
Absolutely not. We thought he'd be in Charlotte on opening night.
We have thought Jalen Brown was going to be the guy who always survived the trade rumors. Now it feels like it's over. Giannis 3 years ago was forever a Buck. These are so many situations that are not one-offs. This is always happening. And the Suns should not forego signing guys to good valued contracts at the fear of running back a season that was actually pretty good with young guys who can get better and was marred by injury. You're not running back a team of 35-year-olds that were fully healthy and reached their maximum potential. Respectfully.
I hope somebody clips how fast my smile was.
Dude, I know what it was. I thought you were smiling. You're not 35, Gil. You're 34. Not yet.
Continue.
I'm kidding.
Continue.
It's okay, though. You do good business, even if good business makes you feel a little stagnant, because you can always trade these contracts. You can always find other ways to trade contracts, and other opportunities will present themselves. This is the only time that you can sign these guys to these deals. You take that. That's what good front offices do, and then you figure out the big moves when it's time to make a big move.
There's nothing stopping them from making a big move at the end of the offseason, in December, at the trade deadline, just because there wasn't the right move right now. And I think that is something that this fan base should remind themselves, that big swings for the sake of big swings aren't always the best idea. That's kind of how we found ourselves in this position right now. So as you were saying, Erik, there could be somebody, some player, unnamed star, who wakes up tomorrow and says, I don't want to play here anymore.
I don't want to be here. Where's Erik
like
Bledsoe?
Word. and again, the Suns have constantly been a destination.
Yes.
Right? And
100%.
has it worked out for them? Once.
Right.
but
Twice.
Not really. I mean, it worked out for them once with Chris Paul.
I mean, KD technically chose.
No. I meant like it worked out when they got here.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha. Like it worked out as in like Bradley Beal wanted to be here, Kevin Durant wanted to be here.
Yeah.
Like this is a destination. Booker is a star, whether people want to admit it or not. So, yeah, you're going to be in a position to make a move if you want to. You shouldn't try to accelerate your timeline for the sake of accelerating your timeline.
And you owe it to the decision makers, owe it to the team ecosystem and what it is they've established last season in the foundation year to continue to learn more about the group. You can't know what external buttons to press until you know fully about everything that is internal. You learned a whole lot last season. Probably learned more than you thought you would by the end of it than you thought you would at the beginning or even in the middle. So I think it's compiling data. Okay, now you have a proof of concept to work off of for the positive side, or you have the negative side of that to kind of go off of things from, and then you can kind of combine the two in the middle, figure out where to go going forward, and I think put yourself in a better position going forward. I think that's the most important part.
Money-wise, you said you're paying more money for the same roster you had last season, which you can make a case that they earned it because they exceeded expectations.
Yeah, and it's only $31 million for those 3 players.
Right. And like thinking about the fact that, there is the whole looming situation. Is Royce going to be here opening night? Is he going to be here beyond this upcoming season? Is Grayson going to be here beyond this season or beyond when he can be moved? That could still be handled at any point in time as far as that goes. But this is a team that did have a lot of questions, and there are some things. There are some timelines when they take a step back, and last year was a flash in the pan, and they don't have that anymore. But there's also a timeline in which you get a much better strike of health for Jalen Green. You get much improved versions of not just the 2 rookies in Man and Rasheer Fleming, because we talk about them improving all the time, but we could talk about Oso making the league. We could talk about Ryan Dunn making the league. We could talk about Collin making the league. We can talk about Goody now having the security of knowing where he's going to be for the next 2 seasons at least, and playing even freer than he already plays. Talk about Devin Booker playing with less pressure on him because the guys around him who he's depending on are going to be healthy. So there are a lot of avenues in which this team can improve. And then you talk about who's around them. Did some teams around you take steps back? Oklahoma City's trying to figure some things out to duck aprons. Minnesota, we talked for like 40 minutes yesterday about did they get better or not. So there is something to be said about staying the course. You know what you have with this group as far as a floor goes, and that could be 38 wins. I think that's probably low, especially given what we've seen from this team. But there are a lot of unknowns, and the unknowns are more positive than negative, I would say.
There's so much you still need to figure out about this team. You learned a lot last year, but you didn't learn everything. You don't want to go and trade a star to build around Devin Booker and Dillon Brooks until Dillon Brooks does this for more than 1 season. And I think that he will, and he's earned quite probably a big contract extension this summer. About $25 million per year feels about fair for him, which is about a $5 million raise. Again, I think that's good business individually. It will make this team more expensive in the future. You don't want to go out there and make a move that changes the trajectory of your franchise based off of 1 season. I understand that people want a power forward and that some want Zion, some want Ja, some are mad they didn't get LaMelo. One, you don't have the assets to get them. Maybe you do for Ja, but you don't have the assets that Minnesota gave up for LaMelo, and I even think that was not a ton for Charlotte to get in return. So you're now sitting here as the Suns, and you are presented with a couple different paths this summer. You can try to play musical chairs and fix every single problem that you saw from a season by trading players that you don't know work together, don't know fit together for an entirely new outlook. You can maybe make one margin move and keep the rest the same, or you can completely run it back. We're still vacillating between 2 and 3 here because they can still do something. We don't know that they're just going to completely run it back. But if they do, there is reason to believe that they should get better. And if they don't, if you think Matt Ishbia is going to sit back and let a team stagnate or take a step back in the sake of development, you haven't been listening to what Matt Ishbia and Brian Gregory have been saying. If we get to the trade deadline and it presents itself as a very clear outcome that paying Mark Williams was a mistake, running it back was a mistake, you best believe this team will move mountains to change that. So being patient now doesn't mean you're always going to be patient for the entirety of this collection of players' time on the roster. You could not trade Grayson and Royce now. You could trade them in December. You could not let Mark walk now, but you can go and try to trade him at the deadline. So there are so many options that still present themselves for the Suns. It feels like so many fans are looking at this as do or die. If we don't go and fix all of our problems now, then this team is just all of a sudden going to be bad. I just personally don't see it that way.
Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say
I do need to be here.
You do. See, this is why we need you here. And the best way to kind of sum that up is that you bought yourself more time. You have all of your knowns and unknowns in the locker room. There's not going to be any what ifs. So, man, what if we didn't let Mark walk, or what if we didn't do what it took to retain Goody and retain Collin Gillespie as well? You don't have to worry about that. That's fine. Now you can still think, and best believe it's their job to think about, well, what if it is something that presents itself in September? What if this presents itself in December when more guys become trade eligible mid-December? What if somebody wakes up on January 15th and says, I don't want to play here anymore. Whatever it is, you still have all these opportunities and avenues, and you did not make any rash decisions for the sake of making a rash decision or the sake of discomfort. And I think that just because you made these decisions does not mean that you are comfortable where you are. And that's the thing that I think is really important to stress, because sometimes we get accused of saying, oh, you think this team is content with running back a team that got swept in the first round. I don't think that's the case. I think that what they're betting on is all the improvement that we talked about, getting better luck, and also other teams could have worse luck next year. All these things can happen. That's why we watch the games. That's why they play the games. Mm-hmm. But I think that the first step towards all of that is keeping everything intact at home, staying in good graces, rewarding the guys that you had on your team that are some internally developed, some brought from the outside. And also the big one we talked about when we talked about Mark, not letting him leave for nothing because of what you parted ways with to get him. So all of those things go into that. And then the big thing, of course, the overarching thing, of course, is the continuity piece.
Yeah, and the telltale sign of all of it is we're talking about they're getting these players on quote-unquote discounts. I imagine a lot of that discount also comes from not just comfort and familiarity, but belief, that buy-in factor. I know I could potentially engage in conversations that might net me more money, but will my role be the same? Do I believe in what it is that the person, the head coach and general manager are preaching or teaching to me? Do I feel trustworthy about the ecosystem that I would be working in? Like, there's a multi-layered conversation to be having about player X gets signed by the team they spent last season with. Why is that? I think there's a lot more nuance to all of that, which Erik, you kind of hinted at. I think Gil, you did, and naturally I did the same, that we're having in this conversation that we're having. And I think that matters a lot, because this next step that they're taking is going to be the most kind of information gathering step that there is. Last season was a lot of newness. We're learning on the fly. We're quote unquote trying things because we're trying to figure things out. There's a lot less figuring out that they're going to be doing, and it's going to be more so we know what it is, let's hit the ground running, and let's keep the thing evolving. I think that's going to matter a lot with all of the things we're speaking to.
And that's the hardest step to take. And we can all probably admit here that there is a chance that this doesn't work out. And that you run this back and you lost the magic that you had at the beginning of the season. Maybe you're more like the second part of the season, or Mark Williams is injured, or Collin Gillespie shooting is more like the second part in the playoffs. And maybe Jordan Goodwin had a hot shooting 3-point year last year and then it dips off. Maybe Rasheer and Kaman don't develop. Maybe Oso doesn't develop. Maybe Ryan does. All of this is on the table. It's a risk to do this, but at least you're playing with the cards in your hand, and I'm sure Jordan Ott's going to appreciate having all of his guys locked up so he can start scheming and finding a way to get better over this offseason. Maybe Jalen isn't healthy for the rest of his career. Maybe Dillon had one heater of a year. Maybe Devin Booker starts his decline. Maybe. Well, guess what? Maybe the other way too. And they're going to assess and respond and figure it out from there. You don't forego doing good business because it could possibly end up being bad when there's also the possibility of it being good.
Something one of my cousins, shout out to the family back home. I'll be seeing y'all soon. Anytime we play card games, anytime I'm her partner, she's hyper competitive. That's why we're so cool. But she always like play to win. Anytime she can see the wheel spinning, it's always play to win. That's what you're doing. You're playing to win. You're winning on your books. You're trying your best with that. Obviously, you're trying to do that on the court. And you're trying to do that also with maintaining the buy-in and belief that you established last season, because for all intents and purposes, there's a lot of talent on the team. Their biggest weapon was the belief and buy-in. Jordan not asking people to do things a little bit differently than they maybe had at any point in their career prior to last season. Them trusting him to do that, them trusting him to ask that, the return on the investment, the time on task that comes with that. Jordan Goodwin having career best offensive rebound rate, one of the best offensive rebounders in the entire league. Collin Gillespie, you can shoot, cool. Can you shoot more pull-ups? Can you up the percentage while also upping the volume? And he shoots almost 8 threes a game, for crying out loud. In the conversation with all of the highest volume three-point shooters and setting the franchise record, like those types of challenges all matter within all of that.
You know, one thing I wanted to make sure we stress when we're talking about continuity is that they're not exactly – excuse me, man, I'm getting choked up talking about this. They're not just running it back completely, though. They are adding a first-round talent to the fold, and we heard from him today. And after our next break, we're going to talk about what we heard from him, how he fits into the big picture, and we got some questions from y'all, too, that we're going to answer.
There are plenty of amazing real estate agents in Arizona, but only one is at the top. That, of course, is Kim Caballero, because previously, Kim Caballero has been working in the Arizona business realm for over 25 years, but now she's helping Arizona families with both buying and selling homes. She has a network of investors, builders, and developers. Then she's going to give you insider insight on property potential, helping you see opportunities that others are going to miss. When you work with Kim, your interests are always her top priority, and you're never going to get passed off to another agent. Kim has proven strategies to help both buyers and sellers secure the best possible terms, and she's going to guide you every step of the way. You're never going to be abandoned when you work with Kim, because Kim and her husband have lived here in Arizona for over 25 years, and she understands what truly matters when it comes to choosing a home. Let Kim put her local expertise to work for you. Call Kim Caballero today at 480-489-5012. That's 480-489-5012. And don't forget to tell her that PHNX sent you.
Now, this next message is for customers of APS, prospective customers of APS, and all Arizonans who want help and solutions managing their energy bill.
I'm listening.
It's getting hot out.
Yeah.
And that means the AC, you're turning it down, and that could impact your energy bill. But there's a solution for that. APS has rate plan options. I hope you're listening. And there's ways. There's 3 ways that you can take advantage of these rate plan options. Monthly plan comparison on your bill every month. You can log into your account and check it out. Or old school, you just pick up your phone and call APS. And what they're going to do for you, you're going to find out the rate plan options that are going to help you save money. You can save money with budget. You can save money just fill your gas tank. You can save money to buy somebody a gift, or maybe just travel home for the holidays. Whatever it is, APS has you covered. You can also look at your bill. And at the bottom is blue type, and it says monthly plan comparison. That is how you find out everything that you need to know. The other way you can find out what you need to know is go on to aps.com/let's talk. That's aps.com/let's talk. Find all your rate plan options right there.
What's up, everybody? We got questions for you that we're going to answer. Gil, one from Spike.
This one from Spike is interesting because we're talking so much about Mark, and the thing that we always talk about with him is his health. And Spike asks, if the Suns are comfortably in the playoffs or play-in picture by the end of March, do you say Suns sit Mark all of April for health?
No, I'll answer it.
All of April?
Absolutely not.
No.
As much as you want to strike the balance of a plan with a guy, playoff rhythm and game rhythm is so fickle.
Yes.
Especially for someone that does not have the ball in their hands as often as Mark maybe, well, at least last season showed to not have based off of what his usage was. You don't want to mess with that rhythm, especially at the most meaningful point. So maybe you scale back minutes. Instead of playing 25 minutes or 27 minutes, he might play 15, maybe 20. You might scale that back, or maybe just shorten his stints, shorten his shifts over the course of a game. But you don't want guys to just be sitting and getting stale, because then you have to rebuild yourself going into the first round or a play-in situation. You don't want to be trying to play catch-up on the game rhythm side while you're in the fire of there only being but so many more tomorrows guaranteed. And I think people think about that from the offensive lens. You have very good defensive rhythm that you lose as well when you're just not on the court. So you don't want to play with that too much.
Game shape too. I mean, Mark is somebody that.
I mean, we can kind of speak about Mark through the lens of Dillon this season.
Yeah.
What he looked like in the first 2 games against Oklahoma City versus the last 2 was night and day. And you factor in the 2 playing games, that's a direct example there.
Yeah, keeping Mark on the bench, it's not going to do anything, man. Yeah, technically he's not going to have an opportunity to get hurt, but he's going to have to play when it's most important. We saw him play in the first play-in game, and he got injured. So you are going to have a plan for him. He's not going to play over probably 25 or 30 minutes in a single game. Maybe he won't play any back-to-backs this year because he started off not playing back-to-backs, and then eventually he started playing back-to-backs, and we were all celebrating it. And then what happened right after he started playing back-to-backs, we saw a decline in his play. We said, okay, he has to adjust to it. And then after the decline in his play, it's like, oh, by the way, he has a foot issue. So maybe it's, Mark, you're going to start, and then every second night of the back-to-back, it's Oso for the beginning of the season. And then maybe by the time we get closer to the end of the season, maybe it's Kaman who starts on the second night of back-to-backs, just to see what a taste of that is like as well. So Mark, sitting him is good. Sitting him for a whole month at a time is not. I get April, there's only like a week and a half really, so it's not exactly
enough
a whole
time
month.
to lose it.
But yeah, it's enough time to lose it. Speaking of losing it, CHC feels like we're losing time here. Says, yeah, Book is 30. He's got plenty of time. Let's wait it out and see how everybody develops.
Is a sarcasm meter detected, or I don't know?
No, it's definitely detected.
Okay.
So I understand why everybody feels like we're almost at the end of capitalizing on Devin Booker's prime, because we might be. Now, we have also seen players play extremely well until their mid and even late 30s, and Book could be that guy. He's never had a game that relies predominantly on athleticism, which could be a good or it could be a bad thing.
I thought you said they play extremely well until they're mid. I was like, yeah.
Until they're mid, yeah.
But they're mid 30s.
That is usually the
decline.
Yeah,
but
the decline is good to mid. I would also like everybody to remember that it is possible to win a championship. Well, I hope it's possible for the Suns to win a championship, with Devin Booker not being your best player. And that might be what the Suns are planning on here. Book is a franchise legend. As much as we want to win a championship during his prime, they didn't win a championship during Dirk Nowitzki's prime. They won it when he was still a really good player, still probably the best player on that team, but he wasn't in his prime, right? He wasn't in his MVP years. They weren't the one seeds. It was a couple years after his prime. You can build a championship winning team around somebody who is a little bit past their prime if they're a really good player. I think Book is. And if you look at some of these young guys, what if Kaman Malawach is everything that everybody thought he was going to be when he went into college the first year, a top 5 pick, this transformative defensive center? Hey, that's going to help a lot if Book is 33 or 34 years old, still playing, but needs a little help on the defensive side of the ball. So you have to play both games in the short term and the long term. And as much as I'd want the Suns to get Booker a championship, well, Book is the clear 1A. You can win with him being a 1B, a 2, a 3, depending on contract. You can go even lower than that if he's later in his career. Like these are all possibilities, because he's not going anywhere. He will play his entire career here.
And he's also, that part matters for sure. You said all of that well, but I think Devin's game is also, this is not new. This is not me saying something that most people that speak objectively about Devin haven't already reiterated, but his game is very polished, super polished.
It's going to age well.
So polished to the point where he's arguably the most malleable superstar that's in that realm of players that he's in. Need him to be on the ball, he can do that and provide impact. Need him to be off the ball, he can do that and provide impact. Need him to be a screener, he can do that, provide impact. Whether it be in pick and roll, setting screens for bigs to get open, setting screens for teammates to get open, other guards and things like that. There's no lacking of usage that you can get out of Devin Booker and say, man, I don't know if he's going to have enough impact to help raise the team's floor and ceiling at the same time. And we saw that quite literally as a snapshot in albeit a sweep, but in that series against Oklahoma City. Devin used this way, Devin used that way, Devin used this way, Devin used that way. And they're finding ways to just keep the wheel churning, keep the chains moving, keep getting first downs, keep it moving. I think that's something that he'll forever be able to do because of not just the skill and the polishment, but the IQ as well. And that helps for other guys to naturally be able to play to maybe their top tier skills. Devin doesn't need the ball. Guess who can have the ball? Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, Collin Gillespie, Grayson Allen. That helps the ecosystem just kind of keep feeding itself and being a little bit more unpredictable in the ways that they can go about operating.
Something I want to stress, and I said it a second ago, his game should age well.
Hopefully.
The way that he plays the game is not reliant on him beating you off the dribble and finishing over you. It's not reliant on his athleticism carrying the way and then his skill being. It's very skill based. It's very footwork based. It's very leverage based. A lot of things that should get sharper as he gets older, because what we see with so many guys in the league, you understand the tricks of the trade better and better and better the further you get into this league. And thinking about that and thinking about the fact that we have so many different proofs of concept around the league now of guys who are redefining what age is. Now, I know he's got a lot of miles. He's been in the league. He's going to year 12. Right? That's no two ways about that. But it's realistic to understand that if his game is aging well and this team is building the proper way and not cutting any more corners to make life easier on him, it should alleviate some of the stress that comes on a lot of players who do have to do a lot of things as they get older. I don't think that that's going to be the case for him, or the plan is for that to not be the case for him. So that gives me some type of excitement. And also, I get it. We're talking in NBA years, but he's 30. It's not like
Yeah,
it's
he's not 45.
It's like, oh man, Book's gonna be 35 this year. What's happening? It's not like Book's 32 this year, like Gil. Like,
Yeah.
what's happening?
He's
You know
not
what I mean?
crazy
He's
old
not
like
crazy
Gil.
old like me. Like, it's one of those things where I still think that there's still a lot left and a lot ahead of him. A lot of great basketball ahead of Devin Booker. And I think that what you were pointing out, a lot of the things that should alleviate some of the issues and make life easier for him. So long as those things are in play, then we'll see that continue down the line.
The last thing I'll say about this is there's also something about peaking too early. I think this is what the Charlotte Hornets were afraid of, and trying to capitalize on LaMelo Ball, trading him when the value is high to kind of reset and let their young guys grow. You could go and trade for a Zion or a Ja or a LaMelo right now. And the truth of the matter is, if you don't give these guys up in a trade, Kaman and Rasheer and Ryan and Oso and Koa, like none of them are ready to compete on a championship stage right now. It's going to be a couple years until they are. You might want to wait until 2028 when you have a better idea of how good your young guys are going to be. And then it's like, you know what? Okay, who's on the market now? Is Luka going to want to leave the Lakers? Is Jason Tatum going to want to leave the Celtics? Is there another young and up-and-coming superstar that we feel like is going to be with one team their entire career that has completely grown apart? Maybe one of our guys has turned into a superstar, and we don't need to go shopping for a superstar and give up on them. So you don't want to go right now when the rest of your infrastructure is not built to go win a championship. The goal is to win a championship, not win a round in the playoffs. You have to make a step to get there, but trying to just solve the short-term problem without addressing the long-term one is going to get you nowhere. If you trade for Ja and you win 2 playoff series over the next couple of years, and then that runs its course, everybody's going to be angry that you traded for Ja and you didn't stick to your young core and that you changed the trajectory of your timeline. The Suns are being patient. They're going to strike when it matters, and right now is when it matters to build a foundation. Your foundation's not ready to compete for a championship yet.
So what I gathered from what you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, please.
I will.
If you're a fan and you're going to be mad regardless of what they do, just sit back and be a fan.
Real.
Be happy.
It's okay to be upset and to want your team to do certain things, but as a Suns fan myself, I appreciate that there's at least a vision, and if it doesn't work out, I trust that this front office will pivot, because it's not like they're doubling down on a 25-win team.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Fact of the matter is, they were a heavily injured team that made it to the playoffs when everybody thought they were going to be bad.
Overachieved.
Massively, and probably could have achieved
With
even more.
With all of that newness, exactly, even more so. They didn't even reach what we feel like is their actual potential from last season.
And the beautiful part about being a fan is that you can have opinions and that you can ask for trades and that you can be upset, but
the Debbie Downer stuff got to stop.
Yeah,
bro.
the Debbie
and also,
for your own sake.
And also to
saying.
the point that we've kind of been saying in a lot of different ways, and what you were saying, Erik, like it's not like we're at a point where we're past the deadline. I understand if you're like past the trade deadline and we're having this conversation because you quite literally can't do anything else. The NBA, the new league year hasn't even started yet.
Mm-hmm.
So
they can cut Jamari Bouye, trade Royce O'Neal, and then sign a free agent.
So much stuff can happen because it's not even July yet. There are so many different things that could change and could happen over the course right now. Like we should look at this as the beginning of something, not of, oh, they did this, they're done. Nothing's happening. This is the same roster that we're going to see at the last game of the season next year. Mm-hmm. A lot of things could change. So we'll see how that goes. Now, we joke around and talk a lot about being old. One thing that'll make you feel old is that the Suns' new player was 8 years old. The Suns' new player was 8 years old when Devin Booker played his first game in a Suns uniform. He was 10 when Devin Booker scored 70, which I think that does.
How old were you?
I was like finishing up college. I was 22, almost 23. But that's fine. It's cool. We heard from the young man today, and after our final break, we'll talk a little bit about the impressions that we got from him and what it all means and how he fits in with the continuity this roster has.
Mountain America Credit Union has been around since before Devin Booker was dropping 70, and they are the exclusive home of the Suns card because, of course, the official credit union of the Phoenix Suns and the official credit union of the Phoenix Mercury. Available as both a debit and a credit card, so why not go for both? Get one as a debit card, one as a credit card, and you're living life good with Mountain America Credit Union because you can pair that Suns debit card with a My Style checking account. Get things like telehealth access, loan rate discounts, offers on travel and events, mobile phone protection, identity protection, so many different benefits just for having a My Style checking account with that PHNX Suns card. And then, of course, you got your Mercury card as a credit card. A no annual fee credit card available as low rate, cashback, or rewards cards options. Mount America, at the end of the day, is here to guide you forward on your financial journey. Go get your Suns or Mercury card today. Apply at any Arizona branch. Visit macu.com/Suns to learn more. Insured by NCUA. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Loans on approved credit.
This summer it has been and will continue to be all about soccer. And Michelob Ultra is a proud sponsor of the U.S. men's national soccer team. We've been locked in. The entire planet has been locked in.
The Freckled Mamba's been
stupidly locked in on the FIFA World Cup, which is happening right in our backyard. And we're all going crazy for Team USA that's trying to lift the trophy at home. Michelob Ultra is brewed right here in America, and some say that the grit that gets the team going is also the grit that is brewed here in the United States. Michelob Ultra is the beer that matches the moment, whether you're packed into a bar, at one of our watch parties, whether you're yelling at your TV at home, or just enjoying it at work, as we've been doing throughout the tournament as well. For every match, every goal, every play on the world's biggest stage, crack open something superior, and that is Michelob Ultra. Michelob Ultra, proud sponsor of the United States men's national soccer team, and official beer sponsor of FIFA World Cup 26. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2026 Anheuser-Busch. Michelob Ultra light beer from St. Louis, Missouri.
I got a little story really, really quick, and it's going to be the least surprising story of all time.
Sure.
So in high school, in Spanish class, the World Cup was happening that year, and my Spanish teacher was like, we're going to have a competition between everybody in the class to say who can yell goal the longest.
Oh, shocking.
And whoever holds the goal for the longest gets some sort of prize. You'll never believe who won in my class.
Was she looking at you the entire time?
The entire time.
Shocking.
I was a menace in that class too, so of course she knew that I was going to do it. But also, Zony Bone says, "Yo, ageism is a protected class, brother. Call HR." That would require him to know how to work that phone of his. So I'm not sure if he could figure that out.
Wow.
He's looking up how to do it.
I'm Googling.
He's opening up his calendar.
I'm typing with my I use my phone like this.
That's the FaceTime app, Grandpa.
Easy on
Why is the magic box yelling at me?
Well, on to younger and much more talented things. Stephen, you and I and the Freckle Mamba had an opportunity to hear firsthand Koa Peat's first official words when he was introduced as a PHNX Sun today. I guess I'll just ask you, Stephen, what's your first impression of seeing and hearing from Mr. Peat this afternoon?
Confidence. You can't fake the funk about being a dog. He's that. Now, everybody shows those qualities in different ways. Dillon Brooks is different from Devin Booker, is different from Koa Peat. But Koa has a stillness about him where I'm not going to say too much, but you'll hear it when I do use my voice, and you'll see it more through my actions. And I feel like Brian Gregory spoke like a very proud uncle in many ways when he spoke about Koa Peat today. And he talked about the dog dynamics that I'm speaking to, those types of characteristics, not always being the rah-rah, but daily habits. Erik, take a trip down memory lane with me. Go back to the 23-24 season with those. Yeah, sorry, bro. My bad. Yikes. Disrespectful. I'm cussing at you. My bad. But we talked about, I kept bringing up daily habits. Everybody's asking, why are the Suns so inconsistent? All of this top-end talent. Daily habits. What are you doing at practice? What's the language? What's the asks? Are those things consistent? Wasn't there, clearly. That's why you got the middling and uneven results that they did that season. With Koa, it feels like the way he shows up, the ways that he goes about just doing the job itself, and the certain type of urgency that he feels like he has with him as well. I think all of that kind of builds up to the confidence that we are privy to just in seeing him speak about people that might be better than him that he doesn't necessarily think, and that he's looking forward to showing why that is not true. Like those little subtle moments where you just listen to the choice of words, the tone, the stillness, all those things really scream confident to me. I don't know, man. It's not easy to just come in and be confident. You can be arrogant, but there's a difference between arrogance and confidence, and it feels like he has that type of confidence that speaks to me And it feels like I could hear that listening to him speak today.
Confidence has some substance behind it, where arrogance, I think, is just something where in some ways you're faking it till you're making
Correct.
it. And I like that you use the air quotes as far as that goes, but I made me think about what he said when he was asked about those who were drafted ahead of him this year. And you could hear that quiet confidence come through with his answer.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough, obviously, as a competitor. You've seen other guys, you think you're better than getting drafted ahead of you. But for me, I think the fit and situation is better than the pick. The picks are out of the window now, so, you're going into summer league and, those picks don't even matter. Like, the first pick, second pick, third pick, they really don't matter. And, you got to compete against those guys every day.
This reminds me of something that Tommy Lloyd said in his media availability earlier today. One, he said the Suns tried to trade up multiple times to draft Koa Peat before 30 so that they really like him. But two, it's not about where you are drafted, it's about where you are drafted to. So not the number, but the team, and that he feels like the situation is the best for Koa and the Suns, not just because he's at home, but because of what the franchise is trying to do. So everything happens for a reason. You can kind of tell that that's the mindset that he has to be taking, where you can use it as motivation, but where he landed was a good spot for him to land, and that type of chip on his shoulder is going to serve him well in the type of culture that the Phoenix Suns have.
Yeah, I think that serves true for all players, but you get to a point where you're in the draft, I can't even say that the way Asians have power nowadays, but you typically don't have control over the situation that you end up in. It's kind of my talent is what it is. You saw me in combine potentially, and my whatever season I just finished up, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, whatever. That's just kind of what you evaluate me as. That's the paradigm in which I'm picked in, and you got to kind of live with that. I think being able to be a guy that's picked in a spot that makes sense, that can maybe get the most out of you, but also extend you enough opportunity and match you in quality and characteristics in terms of his identity and the kind of culture that's been established, you can't really ask for more than that. And I feel like that's something that he can lean into that might expedite his development and growth.
Hunger. He's hungry. He has a lot that he wants to prove as far as that goes. And he mentioned he has to go line up against those guys, regardless of where they were taken this year. I know we're excited to see. We found out this today earlier, the Suns Summer League schedule. Everybody talked about getting an opportunity to see him play. He's going to play alongside some of the Suns' young talent. He will be the headliner for that team. And I think we're going to learn a lot when those opportunities come, because I talk so much about talent, and I'm going to continue to hammer that home. He has a top 10, a lottery level frame. That's something that we also saw. This dude is like a dude who's like, he's got a lot of professional sports DNA. His dad played in the NFL. Big bro played in the NFL. His sisters played college basketball as well. So that's already there. That box is checked. The talent is checked. He obviously won because he was talented enough to lead his team to winning in high school, winning in college, going to the Final Four, winning the Big 12, being the most outstanding player in his region as a freshman is something that I think when we talk about all his accolades, we haven't talked about that enough. And I'm glad
when you have a long list,
right?
Of
It's just like you run out of breath by the time you get to that. But he's just done so much, and he's won. He's a winner, and winners find ways to win.
Winners work.
Winners work.
Winners
work. No. Stop. I caught that. No.
The Freckled Mamba had that one earlier in chat.
I rebuke both of that.
There were questions, though, about if he made the right decision to go pro, and he spoke about his reasoning earlier today too.
Yeah, I feel like for me personally, I'm all about development, and I'm 19 years old. There's still a lot of development I could grow into and get better at. Coming into the league, you're not going to be perfect, but talking with BG and coach about their player development, that's their number one thing they harp on. So I think the fit and situation is super special for me, and I'm going to come in here and work hard every day and try to get better as a young player.
One thing that is exciting to think about his work and what's going to come in the development is the examples around him. Dillon Brooks is a guy who one day after being eliminated from the NBA playoffs was getting a workout in about 12, 14 hours later, and they have some similar physical attributes. And they could very well have similar chip on their respective shoulders. You don't think Dillon Brooks is going to take this young man under his wing and say, this is how we work here?
Villain the third?
Villain the third. The villain lineage. The villainage, some might say. He could join.
Some might say that.
I might say that.
Some might. Maybe just you.
But thinking, and I'll I'm gonna hold that one close to the heart. But just seriously thinking about how he's going to have the example around him. How today Kaman Malawach was in the gym, not only to welcome his new teammate and finally have another teenager in the locker room with him, but to be there. He was getting work in before that. There's a video of Koa Peat arriving to the gym, and Oso Ighodaro was getting work in. He was there with Jalen Green. This is a team that
Haywood Highsmith
was leaving the gym when we got there. This is a team that works. Right, and this is their job, and they work really hard. So somebody that comes in is really looking forward to developing and working on their weaknesses. He's going to be in an environment that just like you can't help but grow and get better about that. And he mentioned he's 19 years old. He's so malleable and like can grow so much and improve so much. We've seen so many 19-year-olds develop. I have no doubts that he's going to add to his game.
And there's no pressure on him. He's the 30th pick. If he's out of the rotation and he plays for the Valley Suns this year, that's fine. That's cool. We didn't have a first-round pick to really factor into this anyway. We don't really have, spots for you in the rotation as is anyway. Go work on your game. Go be dominant in the Valley Suns and get that confidence back and work on your jump shot and be that guy. And then maybe come up for a couple of games here or there when we need you on long road trips or on back-to-backs. We might need a body just for you to be up here with the team even if you're not playing. But you're not a lottery pick. You're not a top 10 pick. You might be the hometown kid, and there might be a lot of hoopla for you because you're coming back home and staying home. But at the end of the day, you're the 30th pick for a team that made the playoffs last year. Like you're not going to have the weight of the world on your shoulders like he has had since he's been 14 years old and winning state championships, playing for FIBA, winning gold medals, and then being a top recruit, and then having all that weight kind of catch up to you this past cycle. It's gone now. You're in the NBA. You're good. Work on your strengths, figure out your weaknesses, and you're in an organization that clearly believes in you. What a great situation for a guy who clearly does have work to do to get better.
And back to the proof of concept point, you can go that route. Maybe he does spend more time with the Valley Suns. Guess what you can point to?
Come on, Malawach.
Rasheer Fleming, Oso Ighodaro, Collin Gillespie. Sure. You have so many of these kind of close proximity and very recent developments that the Suns have seen. Even Isaiah Livers to certain extents. Like, all of these guys have spent time with the Valley Suns on two-way deals, worked their way back and forth, and ultimately netted themselves in the rotation in some capacity over the last 2 seasons. One of those guys just got a payday. And I feel like that might be one of the biggest enticing pieces as anything. For one, you want to play, so you start there. But also, if you can play more and make a little more money on top of that down the line, that's something that you want to see. And to that point, talk to them about one of his strengths and the way that the Suns leaned into a strength of his as a team last season and just gaining possessions with offensive rebounds. Here's what he had to say about Tommy Lloyd kind of challenging him with that. And Brian Gregory also had a little bit to say about that too.
I mean, Tommy was on my butt early about that, coming into college, going to the offensive glass, and I think that's something I got really good at as the season went on, and, using my size and athleticism, go get those putback dunks or getting us extra possessions.
He will do that for us. Obviously, you said it, that's been a big key for us, and it was one of the biggest things. We saw the progression during the year in terms of the emphasis of him going to the offensive glass. I think it's an area, the two of you just hit on the two key areas for us, our defensive pressure and our offensive rebounding. And it's an area that he's really good at right now and only going to get better at.
It's not just that he's home. It's not just that there's not a lot of pressure on him. He's going to a team that values his best possessions. You go and you watch Koa Peat highlights against college-age kids. Again, he was obviously younger than most of them anyway because everybody's 25 in college now. And he's putting his shoulder on them. He's getting offensive rebounds. He has a lot of touch at the offensive rebounding side of things too. It's not like he's grabbing it and then he's throwing his shoulder into somebody and then he's dunking it in. Midair, just tip it in. Boom. Don't bring the ball down, none of that, which we've seen, Kaman will sometimes grab an offensive rebound and bring it down, and then it just gets completely hit out of his hands. So Koa is smart. He's a very good basketball player, but he has the dog and the energy that you need to be able to harness that at the top level. He has all the physical tools that the Suns need him to have, and he's not an idiot. He's a very smart basketball player who has the pedigree of a top player in his class and probably a lottery pick, if not a top 10, if not a top 5 type of mind on him. He just has some clear flaws that the Suns will find a way to work around. Oso Ighodaro has some pretty clear flaws, and the Suns have found an amazing way to utilize him and figure that out. So he's in a good spot. I believe that they're going to find a way for him to play this year, even if it's not a lot. And if he doesn't, that's fine. You're under contract for another year because you're on that first-round contract, buddy. You're going to be here for a little bit.
Yeah, you say too much to me as far as trying to sell me or talk to me about something. You sound like you're trying to sell me something. I start questioning
Me?
whether not you.
Oh, I was like, yeah,
No,
sometimes,
I'm saying
yeah.
it gets to a point where it's like, okay, are you a salesman or are you gonna show me? Like, show me in your work. You say you're a dog, okay, cool. Let's see about it. Just by your film. Koa Peat's out there literally pushing guys off their spots and winning and marking his territory. They ain't gonna get these offensive rebounds. Like, if you're a dog or if a team says they're dogs, you're gonna see it in their statistical output. Rebounds are a direct example of that. The offensive rebound and the rate that the Suns were grabbing those at with the lack of size that they had speaks to the collective care factor. They give a damn, if you will. Mm-hmm. They care a whole lot, and they also understand the value of what that possession means. If you add another guy that's able to kind of add another layer to that, even if he's not necessarily in the rotation, but is just a part of his natural skill set that he brings, that's a direct kind of fit thing if we're talking about. Steve Jones at the dunker spot always talks about fit, context, and opportunity. Those are the three things that you should gauge and assess a player coming into a new situation off of. I feel like he checks off all three of those boxes in terms of being a match for what the Suns have. In addition to those three things, the identity piece and the characteristics of how he wears those qualities.
You mentioned caring, and it's human nature to care a little bit more when it means a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And I think Koa would have been excited and happy to have played for any of the 30 NBA teams, but I think all of us understand that it means a little more when you're at home. This morning, we got a chance to see him interact with kids at the kids camp. And these are kids that see somebody who grew up in the same area and dealt with the same summers that he dealt with growing up. And now they get to see a chance to see him do that. And they recognize that they can be that because he was once those little kids. And I think that's why it means a little more. And it was really cool to hear him talk about his history as a Suns fan coming up and what it now means to put on that uniform.
Yeah, I've been watching the Suns, since I've been born. So, when I was 10 years old, I think that's when Booker got drafted. And so I remember up to that point, mostly. I went to game one of the finals when you guys played the Bucks, when we played the Bucks now. But, I remember those days and, seeing the team compete and seeing them win and, seeing the crowd and how they were involved with the team. I mean, it's super special, and this is a special place to be.
He's 19 years old. So 5 years ago were the final. He was 14 when this. He was 14 when the Suns were in the finals. And I remember I went to I didn't go to any games in the finals, unfortunately. Expensive. But I did go to the first game against the Lakers of that playoff run. And for me, who at that point, I was not 14, but I'd been a Suns fan for a very long time and still, younger. I was like, this is a crazy experience. The first time as, an adult, I've experienced any sort of playoff atmosphere for my basketball team. And that was just such a ringing moment in my sports fandom. And so for him at 14 years old to be, I'm sure he knew that he was the truth at that point, considering he walked into high school and he might have been in high school at that point, maybe the year before high school, and was immediately on varsity and winning state championships. So that you're the truth if you're doing that, going in there, right? So he's there and he's imagining himself probably these NBA dreams, and he's probably imagining it happening on a Phoenix Suns court this past season when he played for U of A. They played a game at the Suns arena. He was there. And so he's played on the court before. He's been in the arena before. He's watched Devin Booker for his entire career and very formative years of Koa Peat's fandom and growth as a basketball player. So there should be a little bit of extra fire and a little bit of extra motivation there. And maybe it doesn't turn him into a superstar, but maybe it just gives him a little bit of an extra drive to get 1% better. And that 1% can be the difference between being in the league and being out of the league, being into the rotation and not in the rotation. And that might just be the difference for him, which would be pretty cool.
The last thing that I'll say is really cool about Koa is I sat behind his family during everything. And I can't stress enough, because we talk about his big brother was a blue chip prospect in his own right and long career in the NFL. It's really easy for you to see that and be complacent and say, oh, well, big bro made it. I'm good. I'm all set. I don't need to be focused. I don't need to lock in. But he decided to choose a different path and not go football like big bro and Pops did. And he talked about what family means to him and how he kind of followed his footsteps, the footsteps of his sisters who were the basketball players of the family.
Yeah, super meaningful, watching my sister Leilani and Maya growing up. They played a big role in my decision playing basketball and kind of inspired me to play basketball. I feel like I take a little bits from their games. Leigh was kind of like a point forward, and then my sister Maya played in the low post, so taking little bits of their games and putting it to mind. But, you know, they were super excited for me, and my sister Maya was crying. Lay was super happy, trying to figure out where I was going. But, you know, just there's always supported me throughout my process, and, you know, they're going to be there with me till the end.
There's a lot of correlation between Koa and how he clearly values and cares a lot about his family and the familial bond that the Suns as a team had last season. Speaking to guys just being checked in on by coaches and guys checking in on each other. Not how you feeling about your game or where you think you are in the rotation, but like a genuine human-to-human connection part. You hear it a lot on the Mercury side. Naturally, it's the Suns and the Mercury valuing of relationships and not in a like a transactional way, in a genuine way. It can be felt. Energy's real. And it feels like Koa is another hand-in-glove fit to what they established as part of that foundation last season, largely because that's just who he is at his core. That's who he is at the crib. That's who he is with his family. Like, you could feel that energy in their interactions today. You could hear it in his voice when he was speaking about each of his siblings as well. And I feel like that's something, again, if we're talking about a team that's trying to find ways to continue to take steps in the right direction and overcome adversity and challenge each other, but grow closer through the challenges and the adversity that is ahead of them, there's no better way than to have good people in the room to do those things with. You don't have to question morals and buy-in and care factor and all of that stuff. It allows you to just kind of streamline your focus. That's what they succeeded with doing collectively last season. Koa is a new piece added to everything that they already started doing last season. And
Koa's family, they've known that he's been special. They know that they're all really great athletes. Well, wait, I mean, you guys, okay, he's back-to-back state champion as a sophomore. He was the Max Preps and Gatorade Arizona Player of the Year. This kid might have something going for him.
He might be all right.
He might be all right. So his family, I think, has helped prepare him for this moment and kind of make him mentally tough and mentally ready. It's got to be one of the hardest pre-draft processes I've seen for a player in a long time, considering where he fell from. And the last thing on that what you said, Stephen, about maybe the family dynamic of the Suns is that the Suns are a very young franchise now. Right. Yes, everything's built around Devin Booker, but Matt Ishbia is a very young owner. You know, Brian Gregory is on the younger side for some GMs. And Jordan Ott's a very young head coach. A lot of their assistant coaches are very young, whether it's Mermies or whether it's Damari Carroll, or at least young in opportunity as well, or at least in energy. Like, Brian Gregory's got like the energy of a 30-year-old, pretty much. And so you have that.
So
you
you're
also
saying 30's young?
Yeah, 30's young for a guy like Brian Gregory. Oh, wow. But you also have a group of young players. You said, you know, Kaman's happy to get another teenager in the locker room. But yeah, we've heard so much about Kaman's energy and youthfulness and him always singing. Ryan's young. Oso's young. Like, you have a lot of young guys in that locker room. Dillon likes to go on streams, so he's young at heart. You know, like, you've got a lot of guys who can relate to these young guys. And to go into a situation where you feel understood and you don't feel ostracized and you also don't feel like you're impeding on somebody else's timeline. Like, Devin Booker's fully bought into all of this. He knows that there's a youth movement and he knows that there's a long-term plan. Now, they want to win this year. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that, but I think everybody understands that there's something bigger here. So Koa is a part of that bigger plan. I'm sure they've communicated that to him, so he must feel important as a 30th overall pick, feel welcome when it comes to how young everybody around the franchise is, and he's at home. So it's a great combination. It could still not work out. He's got some very clear flaws that he needs to work on that could limit him playing in the league because, yeah, Oso doesn't have a jumper, but Oso plays center. Koa's not playing center, right? So there's a lot that he needs to work on. He has a long way to go to be a mainstay in any sort of NBA rotation, whether it's with the Suns or not. But I don't think he or the Suns could have asked for a better situation for him to work towards getting there.
Absolutely. And that was something that he said, and you hear it kind of cliche all the time, but when guys get introduced, they say, I can't wait to get to work. I'm ready to get to work. And it is a long road, but the first step is really soon because 2 weeks from today, we are going to see Koa Peat in his number 18 Suns jersey for the first time as the Suns get going in Summer League in Las Vegas. And as we wrap up here, we'll take a quick look at the Suns Summer League schedule. They play the Trailblazers on July 10th. They play the Pelicans on July 12th. They play the Bucks on July 13th. So that's Koa Peat versus Braden Burries for you U of A fans out there. And they close it out July 15th versus the Pistons. There will be probably there is going to be a fifth game depending on how the first 4 games go. Koa Peat's a winner, so he might be playing for a Summer League championship.
Ooh, add a Summer League chip to the Wikipedia page?
You never know. And he'll probably be out there at least for a couple of games playing with Rasheer and Kaman Malawach. We'll have much more when Summer League gets closer, but since we're 2 weeks away, I'll just ask, how excited are you guys to see Koa Peat and take the floor in purple and orange for the first of many, many, many times?
Super excited. It'll be fun. Plus, maybe he'll have some other help there as well. And Kaman Malawach and Rasheer Fleming.
And Sam Hoiberg.
And of
Corey
course.
Camper
And Corey
Jr.
Camper Jr. And whoever else they put on their Summer League roster. But the trio, and maybe even Kobe Brea will definitely be there.
Yes.
If Kaman and Rasheer are going to play, I'm sure Kobe's going to play there too. So a starting lineup of Hoiberg, of Brea, Rasheer, Koa, Malawach.
They might win it.
I'll be watching.
You telling me there's basketball being played?
There's going to be some basketball.
I'm fired up then. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Add to that a bunch of young guys that I think are going to have some fun, not just developing together, but having their first chance to play together. They've heard a lot about each other. Some guys maybe haven't spent that much time together in the young part of this offseason because they've been in solitude with their development. This is your first chance to see, like, hey, man, Rasheer, you ended the season well, dog. I'm looking forward to seeing how well you play. Maybe that's Kaman singing or saying that to Rasheer. And maybe they're saying the same thing back to each other. Like, there's a lot of, like, fun that it feels like this Suns group could have. And I imagine they're going to be playing a fun brand of basketball, especially one specific to the Summer League circuit. I'm looking forward to how they put it all together. Freckle Mamba mentioned in the chat CJ Huntley at the 2.
Hell yeah, CJ Huntley ISO ball.
I don't know about all that, but I think CJ Huntley is another piece to be looking forward to in this upcoming Summer League circuit because he was one that didn't play a lot last year, but I feel like he left some lasting impressions that we saw come to fruition by way of him getting back on his 2-way deal by the end of the season.
And that's the last. Okay.
Say people forget that the way Kobe Brea was moving in Summer League had some conversations about, is he going to be the best rookie out of the class and does he have the highest potential? That man was moving different during Summer League, so it might be his time.
And that goes into my last point I was going to make. I think all those guys, for different reasons, are going to have a chip on their shoulder, like they can't mess with me, as you or other words, depending on who you are and what language you use. But, Kaman and Rasheer saying that, hey, we got some NBA action under our belt. We got some playoff action under our belt. We're better than all you guys here. Koa Peat saying, I'm better than all the guys that went ahead of me. I'm about to show you guys this. And the same goes for Kobe Brea, who I was moving different last year. I'm going to do it again this summer. CJ Huntley trying to get bigger opportunities. And the undrafted free agents who are just trying to make a name for themselves. So really excited about this group. We'll have much more on this group once we learn the full extent of who's going to be playing in Las Vegas for the Phoenix Suns. As always, we appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out with us a little bit later on a Friday, and you still hung out with us for about an hour and 15 minutes. So thanks for your time. Thanks for hanging out with us as always. And while you're on the way out, please make sure to like and subscribe if you have not already. And then after that, go follow the Freckle Mamba at Freckled Mamba. You can follow Stephen at StephenPG3. You can follow yours truly at Gil McGregor with an underscore. And you can follow Erik at ErikRuby. No, yeah. Follow us at PHNX _Suns. You guys have a great weekend. We will catch you back here, same time. Well, actually 30 minutes earlier, back at our regular time on Monday. See you then.
We all silly like the mayor.